happens.
Good day and welcome to the Phil Battett Show here at an undisclosed location in Saratoga County. It is indeed an honor and a privilege to be with you here today for the next version of our show. We've had some great guests with great topics and conversation. I want to thank Mike McAvoy, Saratoga County EMS Coordinator, for being the guest on our last show. We've talked about economics with Jack O'Toole. We talked about faith and blessings and the story of Star Point Church with Pastor Roscoe Lilly recently. And so we try to get a good, diverse group of guests that can talk about different subjects. And one that's near and dear to my heart is coming up today. But before we get there, as we end the year, I am the Clifton Park Town Supervisor as well as the Chairman of the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors. And I just want to take this opportunity to thank the teams both at the county and the town for all the great work that they are doing and did this year in both respects. We had very successful years, and I've talked about the budgets recently. Both budgets passed unanimously and places Clifton Park and Saratoga County in a very good fiscal position as we go forward. So how we doing today, Jay?
Doing well. It's Friday.
Yeah.
You know, couple days to Christmas.
Yeah, I know. We're
Good. It's good stuff.
Just less than a week till Christmas.
Hard to believe.
Are you ready or?
No.
No.
Taking the kids out tonight to shop.
Oh, good.
Just the boys and I. Tradition.
Very nice.
Yes.
Very nice. I hope you're going to shop in Clifton Park.
Sure.
All right, good.
Yes.
Good.
Let Saratoga get my tax done.
You know, the mall's 96% full.
To the testament of the good leadership of yourself.
Well, I don't know about that, but we're very, very pleased to have a strong mall. It's incredibly important to the economic vitality of Clifton Park and Saratoga County, for that matter, as all of the sales tax is generated locally. And I understand that some people like to shop online, you know, which is fine. It's more convenient. I always ask people if you can get it locally, why not shop locally? You're helping your neighbors, and
small business.
Yeah, your neighbors, small businesses, larger businesses perhaps, which is fine. You know, a lot of these businesses are very supportive of the community, whether they're supporting Little League teams or, you know, just general fundraising activities. You know, they're very important in many ways to our localities. We have a Bass Pro, new Bass Pro Cabela's.
Can't wait.
That, it's getting very exciting to see that steel continue to rise from the ground, and they're making great progress with the weather this fall. Things were going along very nicely for them. I get asked all the time what the opening date might be. Hard to say, but it'll be in the summer, August time frame. I don't like to give strict deadlines or promises on that because I'm not running the project, but that'll be the time frame. And I know a lot of people are very much looking forward to having a new reason to come to Clifton Park. And
Not like there wasn't enough reasons that are.
Exactly. But just one more reason, one more big reason to shop in Clifton Park, shop locally. Again, you're helping your tax base. You're helping with sales tax generation, which we all governments depend on for their budgets. You're helping the school systems. Overall, you're just helping the general community by shopping local. So if you can buy it local, buy it local. Besides, you want to touch and feel it and make sure it's something you want anyway. Nothing's worse than getting something that you order online and then you decide you don't want it or it's not what you think you had, then you have to ship it back, and I mean, it's just a big pain in the ass.
Plus, Amazon does not support local teams, local baseball teams, floats and parades,
right?
All that stuff. You know, local businesses do that.
Yeah, and there's a brand new business in Saratoga County, G's Kettle Corn, which I'm excited about talking about further.
That'd be fun.
Yeah, so new initiative, new business, new small business created here in Saratoga County by my sidekick. Don't forget to subscribe. Our subscribers continue to climb in a short period of time. And if you subscribe and like the show, certainly helps us in the future. Just wanted to go through a few of the larger accomplishments that we've achieved up at the county this year. We're in the midst of a large-scale redevelopment of the airport, which is on time and on budget. That'll be completed next year. The Saratoga County Airport is located in the town of Milton. The Saratoga County Board of Supervisors unanimously approved $3 million for the purchase of property in Saratoga Springs related to a future permanent site for our Code Blue shelter program, which is mandated by New York State. And we're still working on closing that purchase. And I've talked about that in the past. It's a mandated service from New York State down to the counties. And having a permanent location will not only solve the problem of having a shelter available each year, but also allow us to control costs in the future. We're going to have another round of, we had a pilot program with two speakers, Chris Herron and Stephen Hill, that came to a number of schools in Saratoga County to talk directly to students about the dangers of drugs, and talked about their stories. We're expanding that program this year. Stephen Hill will be going to many more schools in Saratoga County in 2025. We continue the build-out of our environmental health unit of our Department of Health at Saratoga County. It's a 3-year project that we've been working hand in hand with the New York State Department of Health on, and we'll be taking over restaurant inspections in January of 25. That's a huge step, just due to the large number of food establishments in Saratoga County. We are still in the midst of a facility study, assessing the assets and facility needs of the county today, as well as 50-plus years from now, so we're still in the middle of that. Back in the beginning of the year, I proposed a unlawful intruder law that passed the Board of Supervisors, and that's related to the squatter situation that Saratoga County and other communities around the country were experiencing. Got some good news this week. I had proposed legislation to the Board of Supervisors to rename the Saratoga National Historic Park, which is where the battlefield is, where the battles of Saratoga took place. And we have our 250th anniversary of that turning point of the American Revolution coming up here in a couple of years. When we passed that legislation at the Saratoga County Board of Supervisors to add battlefield back into the name of the park, it had been taken out decades ago. Congresswoman Stefanik immediately had legislation prepared, and she was on the House floor just this past week speaking to that piece of legislation, which did pass the House. Still has to go through the Senate and other approval processes, but through her strong voice, as always, she's just a terrific advocate for her residents in Saratoga County, and we thank her for working so hard to get that done so we can get Battlefield back in the name. It's a unique identifier. It's something that's very important as we approach the 250th anniversary of the Battles of Saratoga, something that we have a large initiative on in Saratoga County. So that was some good news we just received. We continued to expand the Zim Smith Trail, which I know many of you use each and every day. And we also have a new initiative to get certified recovery peer advocates into our schools. These are folks that have struggled with addiction themselves, and they act as a peer and a counselor to people of all ages, but I felt it was very important we get that program into our schools to help our administrators and our students, and that is beginning this year in partnership with Mike Zerlo and the Saratoga County Sheriff's Office. So I want to thank Mr. Zerlo and his team for working so hard to get that done. So those are just some of the things that we've accomplished this year. and very proud of our record in Saratoga County and Clifton Park. So, so Jay, as Christmas approaches and you finish your shopping, which you're going to do in Clifton Park, what is special about this season to you? Is there anything in particular that is special to you?
For me, Christmas is like the middle part of the holiday season. You have the Thanksgiving, which you bring about what you're thankful for and the meaning of what you have. Then you have the celebration of Christmas, which is kind of like a rebirth of what you have going on and things to look. And then you go into the new year with a fresh start. So you're like at the middle part of kind of like a retooling of your year and looking back. And then there's always family and friends and the celebration of Christ and everything else. So for me, Christmas is my favorite time of year, and I love it.
Yeah, it sure is. And it's the little kids that make the difference, right? And bring that little special feeling toward the holiday. And certainly I'm in that position.
Yeah.
Yes.
I have to say I envy you because I missed that. You know, my kids are now 19 and 21, so I don't have that anymore. But I got a grandson, so hopefully the cycle starts all over.
Yeah, he's a cute little kid, too.
Thank
so why don't we bring our guest on today? We're very honored to have our guest today to talk about something that's near and dear to my heart, and that is general wellness. And Dr. Joe Bova practices locally and is somebody that has gained a great reputation amongst his clients throughout the capital region and beyond, dealing with many different ailments that we all struggle with on a regular basis. And he looks at things a little differently than some other people in the medical profession might, and that's the part that is incredibly intriguing to me, and one that a topic that I've studied quite a bit, especially over the last 5 to 10 years. And so, Dr. Joe Bova, good morning, Joe.
Good morning,
Awesome.
guys.
How you doing today?
I'm doing really well. Thank you.
Great to have you. Thank you for
It's
being
good to be here.
I appreciate
Yes,
it.
very much.
So tell us a little bit about yourself, Doctor. Your background and
Let's play role reverse. Tell us how you feel.
Yeah. So, born and raised in Scotia. So I was in the school system in Scotia up until 7th grade. And then, as I was saying earlier, my dad realized in 7th grade that I had a really good chance at getting a basketball scholarship. So him and my mother and my grandparents afforded me the opportunity to go to CBA over in Colony at their new campus. And so I did 8th grade to 12th grade there. I had a wonderful experience there. I was very blessed with the ability to play basketball and excel. And after that, I received a Division I scholarship to Columbia University. So I was an Ivy League brat and went down to New York City and was there for 4 years. Did an undergrad there in psychology and religion, so co-major. And during the process of being at Columbia, and this is a longer story that we can either get into later or at another time, but during that time, I ended up having an injury playing basketball, and that led me into trying to find different alternatives to get better after I was failed by multiple doctors and therapies. So eventually it pointed me in the direction of chiropractic. And so I went to Palmer College of Chiropractic for 4 years down in Daytona Beach, Florida. Had to get in some warm weather.
Yeah.
And
Why would you come back?
I know. Well, family.
Always draw you back in.
Service
They
community.
do. That's it. Amen. So did that for 4 years, and while I was there, I also got board certified in functional neurology. So that's a roughly 3.5-year program, and then you sit for the board, and did that, and and then the day after I graduated, I opened up a practice in Latham off Route 7, and it's been 12 years.
Wow.
The Lord's been good to us. Yeah, thank you.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah, and talk a little bit about that injury. You, it was very early in your college career.
It was the first day of practice my freshman year, guys.
But it was scary.
It was
what
very
what
scary.
you went through,
It
because
was-
you went from 6'6", strapping young lad, starting out on your college athletic career, and then you couldn't move.
Yeah, first
Really?
day of practice. Yeah, it was bad. First day of practice. Again, I'll never forget it. Coach Jones had us do a charge drill, and so we had all the freshmen on one side, upperclassmen on the other, and so I remember I got matched up against Ben Nwakachu. Ben Nwakachu was a 6'10" Nigerian, almost 275. He was a big boy.
Never trust full syllable last name. Never.
Yeah. So I remember, and at the time I was the same height I am now, but I was like a $185. I was thin. I'm 220 now, so I was very thin. So when he was running at me and he hit me, I hit the ground like a ton of bricks. And I smashed my head. Had a really bad concussion, 6 stitches to the face, and I ended up sequestering 2 discs in my lower back. So what that means is the inner material of the disc actually shot out like a jelly donut and hit my spinal cord. I couldn't walk.
Wow. So the inflammation caused you not to walk.
Yeah, it was bad. It was really, really bad. It was to the point where my mother would literally cry when she would come visit me because I would walk around hunched over like a 90-year-old man. And I was 18, 19 years old. So that was tough. But
how long was your road to recovery?
it was a process. Yeah, I had to redshirt my freshman year. And that was doctor to doctor, no answers. I mean, I saw the best physicians, the best orthopedics in New York City. I mean, the doctors that treat the Yankees, the New York Knicks. I mean, you name it, I saw them. And every single one of them just said surgery. And again, at 18, 19, my father, he was like, there's no way. There's no way my son is going to get back surgery at that
it's one
young.
of those things that you always have problems after that.
Right.
Sure.
So it was definitely a long recovery. But what got me into the profession I am now is my strength trainer down at Columbia had worked with some Olympians in Denver. And there was a group of trainers that worked with these Olympians that did muscle work, soft tissue rehab, and different kinesiology type exercises. I'll never forget, he had me come into the office one day, and he's like, listen, Joe, I got these people out in Denver, Colorado. I don't think you have anything to lose. What do you think? So the school flew me and my father out for 1 week, and this is a true story. Within 24 hours of being with these people, I was jogging around a track.
Wow.
My father, he was floored. I mean, this was, again, I had for the better part of a year walked around hunched over, couldn't stand up straight. I mean, just in excruciating pain. And in 24 hours, I was jogging around a track, right? And so that moment was when I was hooked. I was like, yeah, this is wild. Like how could so many physicians not even suggest it? I mean, I'm not expecting them to know how to treat me that way, right? But at least they had no idea about something like this. And so that was the beginning of where I am now.
So what is it they did? What was the difference?
So it was all manual therapy. So it was a husband and a wife, Vince, and I can't remember his wife's name, but she was a tiny little thing. I mean, she was maybe 4'10", 120 pounds soaking wet. And, but man, she had forearms like this. And she would literally just get in with her hands to every muscle group down my spine, my psoas muscles, my hamstrings, my quads. I mean, she literally, at the end of it, it looked like I was being whipped. Like my dad, I was like, what's it look like? He's like, literally, it looked like there were just like these red lesions all down my back, my hamstrings, my thighs. And I mean, it hurt. Again, she was tiny, but man, it was deep tissue release. Then after that, they had me stand up and do some exercises, some like squats, some lunges, and then they had me do very focused exercises where I was contracting certain muscle groups for certain outcomes. And yeah, it was amazing.
And what have you carried on those exercises today? I mean, I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that suffering from back issues of some sort. What kind of exercises have you continued to do to make sure that never reoccurred?
Yeah, so the exercises that they did with me were more retraining of the muscle. So thank the Lord I haven't had to do them. You know,
Oh, wow.
yeah, yeah, I had, but I guess on that note, there was probably a 4 or 5 year stretch where I would continue to do them. Like part of my workout or warm up throughout college when I was able to play again, my sophomore, junior, and senior year, was doing these exercises religiously every single day
Warming
before
up
I
the back.
played. What's that?
Warming up your back.
Warming up the back, getting the muscles to fire. Because when you talk about high level athletics, I mean, you're using every muscle and your quick trigger responses, and you have to be agile. So not only having or being pain free, but being able to move at a certain speed and agility, that's where these exercises came into play. And again, it was life changing.
Most people who have back issues is because the muscles on the back are not strong enough to support. And if you work those out, that typically resolves the back problems.
Right. Yeah. I think a lot of people, think that with back pain,
Skeletal.
it's something. Yeah. I mean, yeah. Again, I'm a chiropractor by trade, so I totally buy into the process and the thought process of the joint complex and the muscles. But the vast majority of people, if they just did some even halfway decent strengthening exercises, right, and moved, right? Most people just don't move anymore. They're sitting like this for 10 hours a day.
Yeah, and that movement, diet, all incredibly important. And as
Whoa, with that diet word.
I guess I'll
I'll do the movement. But.
And as you're always on the move, that's for sure. But as your career progressed, you started looking at things a little different and more holistically when it came to health and helping your patients.
Yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about how that process and how you got to that point?
Yeah, so my last year of chiropractic school, I was kind of torn. I had, gone through the majority of my schooling, and I felt like there was more. We had learned a lot of information about a lot of stuff, but the focus is on, musculoskeletal injury. And so there was a buddy of mine, Brett Spradlin, who's now a doctor down in Tennessee. And he was basically telling me, listen, I've started following and studying under a functional neurologist, and I think you should hear him speak. His name's Ted Carrick. And I remember thinking, like, oh, all right. I mean, I don't know what a functional neurologist is, but I guess I have nothing to lose. It's more information at the very least.
Right.
I remember walking into the seminar, and Dr. Carrick had a video playing, and it was just patient after patient after patient of testimonials of before and afters. And it's people that had Parkinson's, stroke victims, autoimmune diseases, autisms, you name it, and just showing how there were other therapies out there, right, that were benefiting these individuals. And I'm not saying it's the cure-all for everything, but man, he was convincing, and so that started the deep dive. Again, that was my last year of chiropractic school. So after that, it was within the month, I signed up through the Carrick Institute to start the process of studying and eventually taking the board certification that I did 3 years after that. And it's one of those things, once you start down the rabbit hole, you don't stop, right? And again, like I said, it's been 12 years since then, and I just continue to saturate myself in trying to understand more about the body and nutrition and just the holistic approach to healthcare.
So explain holistic, because some people think, hallucinogenic, holistic. What is that? Describe the holistic approach and what that term means specifically to medicine.
Yeah. So I think it gets lost in translation because a lot of times, especially in America, we think, somebody talks about, oh, I see a holistic health practitioner or something, and you immediately,
Drugs.
or at least I did,
Weed.
you think, that, or you think of like voodoo, or, witch doctor,
Yes.
or
Ouija
something like
board.
that, right?
Exactly.
And, and yeah, far from what I do. But it's a product of, I think, years and years and years of just, the Eastern cultish kind of thing working its way over. It's not even remotely what holistic, at least what I've studied and what I'm part of, is about. I guess to dig deeper, what is that holistic view? It's the concept that as people, we are mind, body, spirit, and soul. And so we're not just a physical being, right? Mm-hmm. There's more to a human, right? We're different than animals. And then physically, it's not just looking at, okay, you have this symptom, and so if you have that symptom, you need this medication. Mm-hmm. Or, oh, you have pain in your chest area. Oh, it's got to be your heart, so then you need a heart medication. It's taking a step back and trying to evaluate an individual as a human being and not just a piece of meat, and understanding that God created the body as a way of different systems working together in tangent for autophagy and for just working to the max level of the human body. So that, I think that's my definition of.
So let's say like a whole rounded look at the thing.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, it's funny. My Dr. Mark Hyman, who I follow a little bit, and he calls himself a holistic doctor because he helps people with a whole list of problems. And I thought that was an interesting way to look at it.
I like that. I might feel that. No.
Yeah, right. But so when people come to you, what are the most common issues, I would say, in maybe the last 5-10 years? What are the most common issues that they come into your office concerned about? Are there specific issues you see on a regular basis that maybe many people out there are also wondering about?
Yeah. So within the 5 years, there's been a huge uptick in chronic illness. And again, we can get into this in depth if you want to.
Yeah.
But my feeling is it's related to the COVID vaccine, as well as COVID in general. Yeah.
Yep.
And it's getting to the point where it's hard to even refute that anymore. Based on the literature that's coming out from
unless you're
Europe
metal deplatform you as soon as you say that.
Yeah.
Jeez.
It's and so just quite honestly, it's wild. It's absolutely wild. The amount of people that are coming in with chronic illness now, whether it's autoimmune diseases, chronic inflammatory disorders, I mean, you name it. There's cancers that people are getting that historically, wouldn't happen in populations under the age of 70. And now you've got 20, 30-year-olds with rare form of eye cancers. And it's like, it's barely even been documented.
Yeah.
And now all of a sudden, these ophthalmologists are getting 2-3 patients in a year. And it's like, wait a minute, like something weird's happening, right? So that's definitely.
I can tell you like rabbit holes.
Oh,
I love it.
Them.
I love it.
Them. Yeah.
But there's also the enormous percentage of children and adults, but it's certainly more concerning in children, of the amount of people that are in a state of prediabetes. I mean, are you seeing a lot of that as well?
Yeah, I mean, quite honestly, a lot of people are coming in not even diagnosed with it.
Right.
A lot of people are coming in and they're just like, listen, I can't sleep, I can't lose weight, I can't think, and it's like, all right, well, let's look at your blood, and they're either pre-diabetic or they're diabetic, and you might look at them and be like, well, you're not overweight at all, right? So what's going on? And there's a ton of different physiological processes that affect our blood sugar, everything from stress to thyroid to testosterone and estrogen hormones. So, the days of the whole blood sugar, issue being just diet are long gone.
And that's a lot of that is the processed foods, the sugar that is in.
Corn.
I mean, it took me the longest time to find vitamin D gummies for my son, my 3-year-old, that didn't have added sugar.
Yeah.
I found one.
Really?
Yeah, I found one. It was a CVS brand. It wasn't a national, but it was a CVS brand, and it was the only one that didn't add sugar. I mean, so even gummies, all the ones for the adults had it, all the ones for the kids, the Flintstones and whatever. It's just everything you look at. It's got more and more sugar. The ultra processed food, which encompasses 80% of the diet for most Americans.
Yeah.
Is that the first thing you look to change in a lot of when they come in about I can't sleep, I can't focus? Is a lot of times does that have to do with just diet?
I mean, diet is absolutely the foundation, right?
Yeah.
You have to start there. But, as I was saying a little bit ago, it can't just be diet because
Right.
the average person, yeah, I mean, their diet's probably not the greatest, but they're stressed out of their minds, right?
Yeah.
They might have relational issues, job issues, life issues, financial issues, whatever it is. So, again, going back to the holistic approach,
I was just going to say that.
if you just look, and I think this is where a lot of people fail is, they might just look at their diet, but they're disregarding the other aspects of their health and their
Right.
well-being. And that's something that, we pride ourselves on is we're not just going to look at one thing. We're going to look at, how do you move? What's your musculoskeletal system like? What's your diet like? What's your life at home like? Your stress levels and do testing, blood and saliva and stool, and just really get an idea of what's going on with this individual. And I think that's the way that people truly get healthy.
And the idea is to start by looking at a series of issues and trying to get to the root and trying some more natural ways to get to a solution, as opposed to, like you said, the medical profession has an incredible amount of silos. Your blood pressure is supposed to be here, so we're going to put you on statin drugs or a myriad of drugs that they prescribe on a regular basis because you're complaining of or something in testing came up a little concerning on one thing. All right, so we'll just give you a drug to treat that.
Yeah.
Certainly makes a lot more sense to look at things on a full-scale basis and try to attack it naturally and basically eliminate possibilities on a solution one at a time without immediately going to a drug.
Yeah, again, you get to the root of the issue, right? When you get to the root of the issue, it's amazing. There's people that'll come in and they won't even tell me some symptoms. Like they'll just focus on like 3 or 4, right? And then a month or 2 will go by and I'll talk to them and they're like, I didn't even tell you about, the elbow pain I had, but it went away. Like, how'd you do that? And it's like, well, first of all, I didn't. God's the one healing you. But when we looked at your body, right?
Yeah.
We tried to get your body to function to 100%. And we didn't just focus on one thing, and your body healed the way it was designed to.
And what are your views on supplementation with vitamins? I'm not sure there's any I'll call it run-of-the-mill vitamin that is something you can get easily like vitamin D. I don't think there's anything more important than vitamin D. We don't catch cold because it's cold outside.
Right.
We catch cold and we get sick because of a lack of vitamin D, especially in the wintertime, obviously, when it is cold. What are your views on supplementation when it comes to vitamins and the simple stuff? I'm sure you get into much more advanced things depending on the patient, but just generally for people that aren't feeling their greatest and maybe they're lacking some supplement that might help.
Yeah. So the first thing is you have to be careful because there is no specific regulating body. So I tell people all the time, don't just go to Walmart or CVS and get the vitamin. To your point, Phil,
Right.
You spent days or hours trying to find a vitamin D without sugar in it, right?
Amazing.
So, yeah, you need to take a step back and first ask yourselves, okay, not just which vitamin do I want, but where can I get a reputable source of vitamin, right? And what you look for is third-party investigated. So you want people that are open and honest, right? These companies that are like, listen, we have third parties come in, randomly select vitamins, and make sure that what we're giving the consumer actually has the vitamin or the herbal in it, right?
Right.
Because I mean, there's been cases that you can look online, people can Google, where some of these big companies have literally just put sugar in their probiotic or sugar in their vitamin D pill, and people are, taking it and thinking it's doing something.
Oh, it tastes good.
Right.
So they keep taking
They
it.
keep taking it, right? And it's
Yeah.
doing nothing
Right.
underneath. So yeah, that's the first thing is look at the supplier. And then as far as specifics of more important vitamins, my thing is multivitamins I think are a waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
People might argue that with me, but we don't even sell them in the office.
Mm-hmm.
The most important thing for people, if they want to take something generic, would be a multi-mineral.
Mm-hmm.
Minerals are almost completely depleted, pretty much
Yep,
depleted in our
incoming
soil.
thing now,
Yeah, like nothing's left. They actually did a study, the USDA way back in like the 50s or 60s, and they examined the soil, and it was almost 100% depleted of selenium, almost 100%. I mean, so in 2024, 2025, if it was almost depleted in the 50s, 60s, there's nothing.
Yeah,
There's nothing.
right.
So, and you look at the uptick of thyroid and immune-based issues, and then you ask the question, well, what does selenium do? Well, it helps with your immune system and your thyroid. So maybe there's a link there, right?
Right.
But minerals are going to be absolutely essential and important for people. And then from there, I like to tell people, look at it from an age standpoint. The younger we are, if we're eating healthy, we tend to be able to draw more from our food, so we probably don't need as many vitamins or supplements.
Right.
But as we age, our digestive system breaks down a little bit. We're not able to absorb as much, so we need to kind of saturate our system a little bit more. And the cutoff I usually use is for women, menopause, and then for men, andropause, which is a similar thing just with testosterone. Secularly, we call it, midlife crisis kind of thing for men, right?
Yeah.
You get into that like 50-ish age range. So at that point, that's when I tell people, okay, you should probably, supplement a little bit more with some vitamins and minerals and things, just because you're not going to absorb at the same rate as from your food as you did when you were 18, 25 years old.
Right. Yeah, and I think with kids, starting them early on a good diet. We can't give our kids Fruit Loops and Fruity Pebbles and some toast with jelly on it, and expect that they're going to react well to that.
Right.
Some kids it doesn't bother. Most they're just not going to. Their bodies aren't going to react well. They're not going to be able to focus. They're not. So we feed them all this stuff, and then they go off to school, and we wonder why sometimes there's behavioral problems, or they're falling asleep during the day.
Yeah.
And I just think so much of it just comes down to sugar. What exactly does sugar do to our bodies?
Oh man, how long do we? I might be coming back for episode number 2.
Well, I hope so.
I don't really think it's sugar per se. I think it's the substitutes for sugar, like
It's sugar.
the high
It's sugar.
fructose corn syrup. Your body can't metabolize.
Well, the seed oils
That's a terrible
and
one.
the seed oils and when we talk about ultra processed food, those are lab experiments.
You gotta get that out of there.
Yeah, we're eating a lab experiment,
Yeah.
and that's a lot of the food that you see out there. But sugar itself is a definite evil, and it does attack you in many ways. But what does sugar do to your body?
Yeah. So I what I'll do is I'll answer it, but you're both kind of right. Okay. So in regards to sugar, it's not just sugar itself, right? Because you can eat fruit, which
That's
has sugar, right?
Right.
That's a complex sugar, though.
Right.
So it's not just sugar itself. It's when we get massive surges of sugar, that's what's creating these massive demands for insulin. And what we know is when we have these massive fluctuations and these increases,
Pancreas doesn't like it.
right, and it's pro-inflammatory,
Yeah.
right? So you get this massive inflammatory response. So I am not against honey. I'm not against maple syrup, right? There's sugar in both of those, right?
But the natural.
Right. It's
Yeah.
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 So again, it comes down to if you're overdoing it and overdoing it to the average American, they think it means, oh, well, I'm not eating fast food and candy every night. Well, that is really overdoing it. But the average person is still doing so by, having a little bit of sugar after their lunch, a little bit of sugar after their dinner. I hear it all the time. Oh, I need something sweet after I eat, right? Yeah. It's like, well, why? Yeah. Well, it's because you're used to eating sugar throughout the day, even little bits, and like you just said, like every drink, right? Even waters now, they add sugar, right? So it's all around us. So it's these massive fluctuations where we're getting these really high increases that it's becoming, very pro-inflammatory. But again, if you're doing maple syrup or you're doing some honey every once in a while, I have no problem with that from a patient standpoint.
But not the fake manufactured maple syrup.
Right.
And natural honey.
And we have,
because
like,
orange
Jemimas run from it.
Yeah,
I mean, that's liquid poison.
Yeah, I mean, and oranges have sugar, but it's that manufactured sugar, the manufactured sweeteners, I guess would be the better way to say it, is leading to the metabolic destruction in a lot of folks, I would say, right?
Oh, absolutely. The fake stuff is 100% the worst, right? And again, it's the constant surges that we're getting as a population. I mean, you go back and you look at other, civilizations, or you look at even right now, you go to, some different tribes or different people groups in Africa and South America. I mean, honey is a delicacy, right? Like when they have honey, it's like, wow, it's Christmas morning, right? Yeah. And the average kid is pounding, 400% more than the average teaspoon of honey as far as sugar quantity in their breakfast and lunch. You know what I mean? And so we're dampening these insulin responses. We're fatiguing them out before a kid hits 18 years old. I mean, it breaks my heart to walk around, right? You go to the mall, right? Or you go to the airport and you look at these kids who are, 5, 6, 7 years old, and it's like, man, like they're a mess, you know, and it breaks my heart. And then I have a 4 and a 6-year-old, and they're the weird kids because they're the ones that we a quick tangent. We were at the City Mission the other day, and donating some presents and stuff. And a very sweet woman up front asked the boys if they wanted a candy cane. My 4-year-old Giuseppe looks her dead in the eye, and he goes, "Does it have red dye in it?"
Red dye.
She's like, "I think so," and he's like, "I can't have that."
So you are a big proponent of RFK.
Oh, huge.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot wait. I pray that they're able to do as much as they want to do in the 4 years that they have, and that the country would wake up, people would wake up, and it would continue, no matter who's in office, that we would transition to understanding that we have to take care of ourselves. We can't just keep doing the same thing because we're getting sicker and sicker.
If you listen to people that worked in the industry and now have come out and they're doing alternative media, they will tell you that a lot of the tobacco scientists moved on to the food companies because the food companies were buying those companies or merging. And what they've studied is the receptors in the back of our mouths. There's, I forget what the name of it, a certain receptor, and creating cravings by being able to hit that receptor to get that positive ding in somebody's head that, oh, I want more of that. And that's how they create the cravings for certain foods, just like they had for cigarettes for many years. So it's a scary situation. I take them at their word that what they're saying is true. But one thing I've learned personally is over the years, the more you eat, the more you need to eat. The more sugar you have, the more sugar you need. The more sleep you get, the more sleep you need. And we create these, we almost create and compound on certain lifestyle choices that aren't good for us. And there's no sugar in my house. There's no cookies. There's no sweetened cereals. There's nothing of that sort. And you notice with your kids, if they don't have it, they don't crave it, they don't even want it. I'll give you a quick story. Went to a friend's house for a holiday party. Had this huge spread, food, everything. Had a whole table with like 10 different pies and cookies and cupcakes and everything else. And then on the table, he had this big bowl of blueberries and a big bowl of grapes, which my son has every morning, blueberries, which has some sugar, but it's well contained, I think. When we went over in that area, my son said, "Daddy, can I have a cupcake?" I said, yeah, go ahead.
It's a holiday.
He took one bite of the cupcake, and he looked at me, and he said, can I have the blueberries?
You trained him well.
Yeah.
Trained him well.
And so that was a proud dad moment for me because it just, I think, further reinforces the fact that even though blueberries are somewhat sweet, that he doesn't crave it because he never has it. I mean, my biggest challenge is when we go to all these Halloween. We have a huge Halloween trunk or treat in partnership with Star Point Church at the Common, and take them out trick or treating is hiding the candies until he forgets about it, and then give it away, and because they forget, because he doesn't crave it, he's not used to it, and he doesn't want it.
Yeah. Well, kids are very intelligent, and they'll. So let me backtrack a little bit. You were talking about dopamine a little bit ago when you were talking about the tobacco industries and playing off of receptors and getting us to be addicted to something or want something. Kids are very, very intelligent. So if they're not getting sugar, right, they're gonna produce dopamine with a different type of activity. Right? The majority of children today need either sugar or video games or social media as a way of stimulating dopamine, which is backwards in my opinion.
Yes.
So like your son had that concept, like, okay, yeah, that didn't taste great. It didn't really give me the rush that I want. The blueberries though do.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful thing, right? It's an amazing thing.
But to your point, that's a compounding problem. So they're using sedative processes to get their dopamine, and yet they're kind of filling up full of sugar, which compounds the problem.
100%.
The other thing that's so sad to me is, if you're an adult and you can make decisions, do what you want, I don't care. But when kids, apparently, from what I hear, as young as 6, are being put on GLP-1s, like Ozempic, Wegovy. Those are GLP-1 drugs.
At that age.
And, I think at any age there's enough concern about it that I'm not sure I'd want to try it. But when you think about these kids being put on a lifelong drug at 6, 10, 13, I don't care what age, but I don't know if you have a view on those or what your view might be. But, unless you've completely given up, and it comes down to survival or taking something like that, well, then I guess that's a choice you make. But boy, when you talk about all the things you could do other than sticking yourself with another drug, God, the options are endless, and it's not hard.
Yeah. Well, so there's a purpose for everything, right? Like, I am not against medicine, even the least. Medicine saves people's lives every day, right? So I am all for medicine when it's used appropriately.
Right.
If you have a 8-year-old and your first line of defense to try to curb their sugar and their body image is to put them on Ozempic or another pharmaceutical, I'm not going to stand behind that. Not at that age. So again, I agree with you, Phil. You have to exhaust every option.
Right.
Every option, especially in a child who's not even 18 yet. You know, their hormones haven't even set in. So you start messing around with insulin receptor sensitivity at 8, 9, 10 years old, and now what happens when their testosterone starts surging? But now you've just manipulated their insulin levels, and that's going to affect an enzyme called the aromatase enzyme, which will then potentially change testosterone and estrogen levels, and then now what do you have, right? I think we're opening up Pandora's box. We don't know what we're getting into, and unfortunately, a lot of times with some of these things with young children, it's like, oh well, it's fine. We have a study, we have a 5-year study. It's like that doesn't really cut it. Yeah, I mean, do you have a 40-year study? Do you have a 50-year study? Because if this child's 8 and you're planning on just kind of keeping them on this drug, I mean, they got their whole lives ahead of them, and I don't know too many studies like that.
Well, it's like the COVID vaccine where there was no study.
As far as the Ozempic drug, I know a lot of people that were on it, and the beauty with the Ozempic drug is it tones down the dopamine levels, so you don't get those cravings. And they found that the Ozempic also affects people who want cigarettes, people who want alcohol, and any kind of addiction catalyst. The Ozempic drug.
Yeah, but just think what it has to do to your body to do that.
Well,
just think about it.
I think the adverse side effects
by
are
by numbing your body and by numbing your receptors.
Some people can't lose the weight with that thing. No.
Yeah. Well.
No, you are right, Jay. I mean, there are absolutely people that that have tried everything, right? They've worked on their hormones, they've done the diet, they've done the exercise, and they've done it to a T and still can't lose weight. And okay,
I know a lot of people, and it has worked fabulously for them. To your point, though, what are the long terms? We don't know.
Well,
but I think short term, I think the fact that now they're now off of their statins, they're off their omeprazoles, they're off their blood pressure meds, and That's a good side effect. I would roll that dice.
Yeah,
And I'm not a drug guy. I hate
yeah.
drugs.
I think I think you have to look at you have to ask yourself the question: how long am I going to be taking this?
Yeah.
You know, and that's with anything.
Yeah.
Right?
Right.
If you're set out and you say, okay, I've tried everything, I didn't lose the weight, and I need to do something because this is affecting my quality of life or my overall health in severe ways. All right, give yourself 3 months, right? Or give yourself 6 months or whatever it is. But again, I'm a firm believer if you go on something with not having an end time, then
right.
you end up losing track. And 5 years later, it's like, oh, wait a minute. I mean, I had true story, I had a patient who was on Ozempic for 2 years and was recently diagnosed with lymphoma. And the medical doctor, the oncologist, and myself both agreed that it had to have been from the drug. And so it was like, oh, man. And then come to find out, his wife, who also was on Ozempic, ended up having very enlarged lymph nodes around her pancreas and in her abdomen. And it's like, geez, you know, again, we can't necessarily prove it, but these are two people that were otherwise healthy individuals that, you know, wanted to lose a few pounds and were on it for, you know, a year or two, and then had this happen. It's like, okay, well, is it related? Is it not? Jury's out, but there's a strong possibility because of some of the data that's out there with this drug, especially when you talk about the pancreas and what we know that the drug can negatively impact the pancreas and cause different pancreatitis responses and things. So again, you just gotta be careful with how long you're on anything.
Anything.
You know, yeah.
Yeah, and there's a lot of questions around statin drugs.
Yes.
And the fact the body needs cholesterol. Cholesterol isn't necessarily a bad thing whatsoever. Mother's milk is an extremely fatty.
Yeah, very, very.
And we need that for our brains. And what are statin drugs doing to us for those that take them on a long-term basis?
There's a correlation.
And there might be. I'm not going to sit here and say for sure, but when you look at how a statin drug works and you look at the increase in a lot of brain issues, dementia, and other things that people are experiencing, it's certainly questionable. What are your views generally on fasting? There's people do longer term fasting, intermittent fasting. Several years ago, I just kind of changed how I view, breakfast, lunch, and dinner. We all grew up with this thing. Well, you gotta have breakfast, lunch, and dinner, which is ridiculous. And I think it was two things for me several years ago. Was one to just throw that away.
Yeah.
There is no breakfast, lunch, and dinner, except for kids. Kids need to have breakfast, lunch, and dinner. I'm no longer playing sports. I'm not, an active athlete or anything like that. I work out, but I think if you're a high-level athlete or a kid who's, running off a lot of calories, you need breakfast, lunch, and dinner. But I took that out of my life and just changed that whole scope mentally, and then started to, and I've done 2 or 3 days straight, without eating anything. Now I eat once a day. Now I eat once a day, maybe, and I tell you, personally, I feel a lot better.
Yeah.
During inflation, I guess I saved money, right? But I feel a lot better overall, and it's really changed my life quite a bit because I'm never on any schedule. Well, it's lunchtime. I gotta have lunch, or it's breakfast. I getting up in the morning, but the more I read about it, even high-profile athletes are fasting intermittently. And when we say intermittent, it could be a 12-hour fast, 18 hours, 24. But even they're doing it, which was kind of surprising. What are your views on fasting in general for the right person?
Mm-hmm.
It's not for everybody.
Fasting is phenomenal. Fasting is phenomenal for our physical well-being. I think our emotional well-being, our spiritual well-being. So I am a huge proponent of fasting.
So you don't think a full belly is better for your emotional well-being? Sitting there saying, "Oh man, I could really go for a burger right now."
Yeah, maybe for 30 seconds. No, it is. Fasting is phenomenal as far as clarity of mind, autophagy. To get us at our optimum. We know that after 16 hours of fasting, the cells start to repair exponentially. They start getting rid of all the clutter and the junk that's in them. It's like a clean out, right?
Yeah.
And so there's plenty of published research and peer-reviewed articles talking about fasting and its link to anti-cancer properties and stem cell stimulation and just amazing things. Now, caveat to that, is going to be, like you said, Phil, it's not necessarily for everybody for every day.
Right.
Right. So that's something that, you have to talk to your physician about it. One of the things that I do with patients, and not every patient, but a lot, is a cortisol test. Cortisol is our stress hormone. And when you fast, you're playing off cortisol. So what happens is cortisol is released, your liver and your muscles start breaking down glycogen. That is the energy source that you will use during the fasting state. And then when you eat again, your body will store more glycogen and then burn the rest. So in order to understand if someone really truly should fast, you first have to understand, does this individual have a cortisol rhythm that can handle it?
Right.
Because if you're demanding this hormone to work properly, you better make sure it works properly.
Right.
Because if it doesn't, you end up crashing. And these are the people that will try different fads, I call them, or different things like a fasting schedule, and not have a really good understanding of their body. And then they end up making themselves 1,000 times worse. Right. So I think from a medical standpoint, if someone's trying to use fasting, I think it'd be smart to get levels checked and understanding of where you're at. And then, if they're good, then there's nothing holding you back from doing it. And
you will lose a little bit of muscle mass too.
You will,
if you do it on especially if you go the 2 or 3 days on a regular basis, which I don't do. You will lose some muscle mass, so you have to keep that in mind. Do a little more workout with weights or whatever you do, so you keep that muscle mass.
Yeah, and then as far as the whole calorie and eating throughout the day thing, right? So with the intermittent fasting, you're still going to get the amount of calories that you need.
Right.
For the longest time we thought, breakfast, lunch, dinner, snacks, because we have to eat throughout the day, to keep our blood sugar the same or to keep whatever. But it's all hormone based. So as long as you're getting the calories that you need and your hormones are where they should be, you're going to be fine.
A dietitian must hate you.
Yeah.
Because I remember it was always an argument with my dad, who believes you eat when you're hungry. You don't eat otherwise. If he's hungry at 12 o'clock at night, he'll cook himself a full meal at 12 o'clock at night. And my aunt, who was a dietitian, we get all pissed off. No, you have to eat breakfast, lunch, and dinner. It's regimented, nothing past it. He goes, listen, your body is like a car. If it takes 2,000 gallons to fuel it, whether you have that 2,000 gallons at midnight or at 6 o'clock in the afternoon, you still need those 2,000 gallons. So it was just what you were saying.
Yeah, reminiscent of
that argument that they used to have all the time. Yeah. But to that point, you're right. If your body needs those calories, whether it gets it all through the day or towards the end of the day, your body needs those calories no matter what. And if the benefit of going throughout the day, stressing your body, making it clean out what it's got to do, it's probably the best way to go.
Yeah, like I said, I implement the fasting, and the vast majority, especially men. Men, it's phenomenal for our testosterone levels. Yeah. Phenomenal. Women, it's one of those things, it can be good for them, but as women age and they go through menopause, there's more in-depth hormone testing that needs to be checked in order for them to do it correctly and do it appropriately. But yeah, for men, man, it's if guys are listening and you need to get your testosterone up, start fasting. It's phenomenal.
Yeah, don't buy a drug or something. Try it, and again, it goes back to trying it, right?
Absolutely.
Try it for 6 months. Eat once a day and cut out all the junk and the sugar, and you don't have to buy everything organic, and because that's very expensive. Not everything has to be organic. Not everything has to be grass-fed beef and those types of things. Because again, going back to expense, not everybody can do that, and I don't do that myself. But as far as I'm concerned, eggs and meat are two great things for you. And I've realized over the years that everything, well, I won't say everything, most everything that we've been told by the government as far as their nutrition pyramids and everything is complete and utter garbage. And if you're taking nutrition advice from the federal government, stop, because when they talk about sugary cereals being better for you than, say, red meat, it's insanity. And a lot of that goes back to the whole climate change, and anti-meat and all that garbage. But it's just insanity, the information they put out, and telling people you have to have 3 squares a day.
Yeah, but I think
it's all meant to generate money.
But I think a lot of that came out, though. If you look at when all that stuff came out, it was back in the 30s and 40s and 50s, where men worked hard, laborious, long days' work.
I'm talking about the information they put out.
No, but what I'm saying is the information hasn't changed, but people's lifestyle has totally changed. We've gone from a heavily labor-induced lifestyle to a more of a leisure, sedative lifestyle, but our food habits and consumption hasn't changed. when the guy's working in a factory or on the fields,
Right.
he can consume 3,000 calories and never gain weight no matter what he eats.
Yeah.
But now he sits at home in front of a computer or at work in front of a computer or a boardroom or whatever. Well, you can't eat 3,000 calories anymore no matter what
Right.
you eat.
Yeah.
It's bad.
Well,
And the government hasn't changed that whole model.
and also going back to what they're putting in our food.
Oh, yeah.
So back in the 40s, 50s, the average guy got 2,500 to 3,000 calories a day, and they were. I mean, you look at them, and they were, built. They had
Yeah.
good muscle tone. They didn't have bellies or anything.
Well, they work
Right.
hard too.
They did work hard, but then you take that same population base now, and you say, okay, well, what if the average man ate 2,500 to 3,000 calories? It's not just the sedentary lifestyle; it's what they're putting in the food that's changing us, right? The pesticides, the hormones. I mean, we have this documented. The microplastics. I mean, literally, it's throughout our bloodstream. I mean, they're now finally some of these universities allowing these scientists and these professors to do deeper studies into microplastics, and they're finding it's throughout our entire bodies. I mean, this stuff is depositing in our organ tissues, and so it's changing our hormones, which is changing our weight, our metabolism. It's giving us these diseases. Again, I could go on for hours about this stuff, but it is, people have to understand it's not just about how many calories am I eating. It's about what's in our food, what are they doing to the food, and how is that implementing my physiologic process, right? My hormones and my systems of the body, because it is eye-opening when you dive deep into this stuff.
And what do you think, and just generally, a normal kid, toddler, what do you think are the important parts of a good diet for say, a kid, toddler age?
Yeah. So, I mean, my stance is we need meat. And there's plenty of people out there that disagree with me. That,
Not the 3D printed meat that Bill Gates wants to sell us.
Oh,
right?
geez.
God.
The actual.
Yeah.
Oh man, nothing from China.
Oh,
Yeah.
No, but the meat is a staple in our house.
Yeah.
Like I said, I got a 4-year-old and a 6-year-old. So, I mean, their diet is heavily protein based.
Yeah.
I'm a hunter, so we harvest venison and we eat a lot of venison as a source of protein.
You can your own food?
I don't. I tried. I just don't have the time.
I'm a huge can. I love canning.
I tried. I'm one of those guys. I'll try everything I'll do, but I don't have enough time to do all of my hobbies. My
Sure.
wife says so. But eventually maybe. Yeah, meat as a base, absolutely.
Yeah.
And they get it every single meal.
Yes.
Breakfast, lunch, and dinner. They're having animal protein.
Yep.
And as far as fruits and vegetables go, they do get a good amount of carbohydrate. I'm not afraid of them getting carbohydrate, but it's the right type.
Right.
So eat a ton of sweet potatoes, a ton of squash,
Yeah.
a lot of low glycemic fruits. So your berries, like
Right.
the blueberries, the raspberries, strawberries, like they're staples in our house. We go through those cartons of organic blueberries. It's like the biggest thing on our grocery bill. But those are foundational things. And like we talked about earlier with your son, Phil, if you teach kids how to eat when they're 3, 4, or 5, they're going to make the right decisions.
Right.
It's ingrained in them. They, again, going off that dopamine again, they get pleasure out of eating well, and they feel good, and they look different than the average kid when they eat like this.
Yeah. Yeah, I think, eggs I think are tremendous. You can have eggs every day, in my opinion, just based on what I've seen in my kids and how I feel. And fasting is good, I think, but it's also important to switch it up. I think it's important to switch your body up. So say you did an 18 to 24 intermittent fasting protocol, I think changing it up once in a while and maybe after 6 hours having something, because it keeps your body always working, and you need to make your body uncomfortable. And I think too often we especially with all the creature comforts that we have nowadays, we're always rushing to comfort. And a big part of that is I'm a little bit hungry, so I'm going to have something.
Right.
And I think always, I'll say stressing your body, if that's the right term, but stressing your body in different ways, not making yourself so comfortable all the time, or at least in your mind you're thinking you're making yourself comfortable. I think comfort, overdoing it in these areas actually leads to aging, and maybe not aging the way you'd want to age. But yeah, I agree with you. A lot of meats, eggs, very important, along with the blueberries, which we buy a lot of blueberries.
Yeah.
But you got to wash them.
Yeah.
Even the organic ones. I mean, they talk about there being less pesticides and everything else. You got to wash them. You got to wash them good. Soak them a little bit, right? Is that?
Yeah. And going back off what you were just talking about, Phil, I'm going to change the word from stress to adaptation. Like, our bodies need to adapt. If we don't adapt, we die.
It's inherently lazy. Your body's inherently lazy. It needs to be worked.
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and it brings pleasure, right? Like, I can genuinely say when I have to go outside and I'm preparing a garden, right? We have we call it a hobby farm. But
Little homesteading.
a little homesteading.
Nice.
So when I'm going out and I'm doing that, and I'm trimming the grapevines, or I'm planting, or I'm whatever I'm doing, I genuinely, when I sweat and I toil, I get enjoyment from that. Right?
Yes.
I like doing that, and honestly, the next day or even later that day, I feel better. I feel looser. Like, mentally, physically, it's good.
It is.
You don't.
I don't like to sweat at all.
Oh, man, you're missing out. You need to adapt, brother. You need to adapt.
Listen, you see this? You don't want to see this sweating. Trust me.
And he talks about going to a warmer climate.
I hate
Oh
the
my
sweat.
God.
I will work like in this weather right now.
Yeah.
I'll work my ass off, but sweating, I can't stand sweating.
No.
I just
I
I'm
love
a redhead, fair skin, so it just feel like a shower. I hate it.
It's good for you. You cleanse that way.
That's what
right?
they say, but I don't believe it.
Jury's out.
Sweating is good, and it's part of that stress or adaptation, right?
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
yeah.
Absolutely.
It's another form of working your body, stressing, that changing things up, keeping your body guessing a little bit.
Yeah.
And because if you're getting too much, and I think that's where we go back to breakfast, lunch, and dinner. If it's that constant
Right.
Regimented thing.
regiment, the breakfast, lunch, and dinner, and then dessert, and then chips later at night or whatever it might be.
Although I think you guys just resolved a lot of couples dispute on what's for dinner. If there's fewer meals, then you're arguing
Exactly.
on what's for dinner.
That's exactly it.
Well, that's the thing. I don't even think about it. I just wanted to change the mental part of it.
Now, does your whole family do this? Or
And
you?
just not even think about it, not be on any kind of schedule. It's just basically just taking food out of your life so it's not controlling you. I mean, that might be a weird way to think about it, but that's how I thought about it when I decided I had to do something different. It just doesn't control me. I don't think about it.
Does your whole family partake in your
No.
eating at 6? It's just you.
Yeah. Well,
of course, you have one of those schedules. That's
Well,
really different.
my older son's a marathoner. My younger son plays soccer in college, as my older son did, and then I've got two little ones. I wouldn't recommend that they do it.
Yeah.
My wife, she doesn't. Everything she has is very natural. She's she's from China, and they have a whole different way of looking at diet in the world, and so a lot of everything she has is all natural
Yeah.
stuff. So, but no, I'm the only one. But like I said, for kids, I don't think it's a good idea.
Any regiment is good for kids.
Yeah, and I don't think it's good if you're, somebody that's a high level athlete that's burning a ton of calories. Although, like I said, there are some that do it, which is pretty surprising.
Yeah.
I mean, they're huge, sculpted individuals playing football and things, and it's hard to believe that they.
Yeah, you're the ones that could eat all those calories.
Yeah,
and
right.
think of it, yeah.
But that's what it comes down to, right? They're getting enough calories still.
Yeah.
So if they need 5,000 calories, they're getting 5,000 calories, and whether it's broken up into 5 times during the day or 1 time during the day, they're getting the fuel that they need, and their body is clearing out, so it's got room.
Yeah.
Right? They cleared out the garage, so you got room to put more junk in there.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I mean, again, but adaptation is key. So
More room for fettuccine alfredo.
maybe once a month. Maybe once a month. A good fettuccine is not bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, anything in moderation.
That's what I had last night for
right?
dinner.
Right, Joe? I mean, anything in moderation.
Yeah, you got to be careful with that, though.
Yeah,
Because a lot of
well,
people use
yeah.
that as the excuse. They'll come in,
Yeah,
"Hey, right,
yeah.
Doc, yeah, everything in moderation." Well, I don't know about that. But, I mean, I'd lie to you if I said I didn't. Every once in a while, I have pizza and ice cream. And ice cream is my kryptonite, right? So,
What's your favorite?
favorite ice cream?
Yeah.
Oh, man, it depends on the brand and everything. But
Let's say a good Stewart's ice cream.
good Stewart's ice cream.
Good Saratoga.
Yeah.
There you go.
Yeah, we love
So Stewart's, I mean, it doesn't have the greatest ingredients, but if I'm going to go with Stewart's, I'm going to chocolate peanut butter.
Oh, they hate that. Look at that.
Chocolate peanut butter.
I'll admit that right
Yeah,
there.
yeah. Whoops. No, but the chocolate
Because of
peanut
the sugar.
butter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Chocolate peanut butter. That was the go-to before I knew what I know now. But
Yeah.
What's your favorite ice cream?
I haven't had ice cream in at least 10 plus years.
Okay, so back 10 plus years ago, what was your favorite ice cream?
I always like the chocolate. Anything with peanut butter.
Yeah.
I
man.
stopped eating peanut butter about 10 years ago too, because you realize it's the normal stuff you buy.
And a funny thing, I
pretty much
discovered
garbage.
peanut butter 10 years ago. I never had it before 10 years
Oh, I
ago.
love peanut
Really?
butter.
Yeah.
Peanut butter was
Better
always
than
my
in our
favorite.
house. Ever.
wow.
I will have pizza once in a while.
Yeah.
Yeah. But as far as any sweets whatsoever, I have zero.
Hmm.
Yeah. And that's just personal choice. I'm not saying I'm right. I'm not saying I'm wrong. I feel better.
Right.
But you're right for you.
So if I feel better, it works. May not work for everybody out there, but I don't miss it at all. Like I said, I think the more you eat, the more you need to eat, and the more sweets you have, the more sweets you want. And I think people would be very surprised if they started to change things up a little bit. It's really easy. I mean, the first time I went a couple of days without eating, I was like, I'm not even hungry.
You know what? I disagree with you, Phil.
I'm telling you.
Being somebody that enjoys food, like I enjoy food. I have to physically work at not going to get something to eat.
Well, you just have to change your mental outlook on it, you know.
A lot harder for some guys. 'Cause, you know,
But that,
you put a bowl of pasta in front of me, there'll be a whole lot that I can't.
well, it's all mental though. It's all mental. But I'm telling you, I thought I'd be hungry as heck. And maybe when I passed 12, 15 hours, I did get a little hungry. And that went away. And then it was like, after that, it was easy. It got to the
Once you
point.
get past the hump, yeah.
Yeah, and I felt so good. It got to the point where I don't want to eat anything because maybe I won't feel as good.
Yeah.
And you got to occupy your time when you're fasting.
Oh,
If
yes,
you just
that's
sit
key.
there watching
Oh, yeah.
TV, you're
Yeah.
going to go for the popcorn. Right?
Yeah.
You're just
Yeah.
tormenting yourself.
Specifically, G's kettle corn. Yeah.
There you go. Yeah.
Well, my job makes it a lot easier.
Yeah,
because
busy.
I'm out a
Yeah.
lot of nights and weekends. So if I was home, it might be a little tougher. So that's a very good point. So as we close up here, Joe, anything else, you know, as far as what you're seeing that are these chronic illnesses coming in on a regular basis that people are complaining about as you go through your testing protocols and try to nail down what the root cause of the issue? Are there any tips you can give people generally? Obviously, maybe you have some of your clients out there, but most aren't. So I know you can't get into too much detail without really going through somebody's past and current health situation, but just generally, are there any, when it comes to lethargy and overweight, and maybe they don't have the diet that they need to have? I mean, other than cutting out sweets or ultra processed food, what are some general things people can do that would be pretty easy to change their lifestyle?
So first, people have to answer the question, why am I wanting to get healthy? Because too many people just want to get healthy because that's like the fat thing to do, right? They want, I want to do this because, I don't know, this person looks good and I want to kind of look like that. Like, no, you have to truly want to be healthy for the right reasons. So that's my first thing. Answer that question for yourself. And then from there, don't just jump on the next, bandwagon that you see on TikTok, the next fad or whatever. I think everybody's an individual, so you need to test what your blood looks like, right? So that's my big pet peeve is if you don't have testing, you really don't know where to go. You don't have the map that your body needs. So, and unfortunately, going and getting your just run-of-the-mill once-a-year test or biannual test where you're getting your basic markers tested, it's not going to show anything.
Right.
It's just not. So you need to get your hormones tested. You need your vitamin levels tested. You need a full thyroid hormone panel. Like, these are things you can ask your physician about and say, listen, these are the things I want to test to see where I'm at. Especially, I'm going to assume the population listening is over 40, both men and women. And you need to get an idea of these hormones, because where your hormones are at when you're 40 and 50, if you continue to age, Lord willing, and you live into your 70s and 80s, they're going to be stagnant unless you do something to change them, right? So you need to have a baseline of that information to truly get the vitality that everybody wants, the health that everybody should want, at least. So that's where I would start, is answering your why. Why do I want to be healthy? Getting the testing done, and then from there, you'll have your answers, and you can say, okay, well, I'm going to go the medical route and do medication, or I'm going to go more of a holistic approach and seek out dietary advice, vitamin herbal therapies, etc., or something else. But I think that's a good place to start.
Yeah, and it's again comes down to a lot of it being mental, right? I mean, you have to want to do it.
You got to want to do it. Yeah, you got to want to do it.
It's not easy.
No, it's not. It's not. And when you're spending more money, right? If things are tight, it's like, oh man, do I really want to spend the extra money getting
Organic blueberries?
Organic blueberries?
Yeah,
It's like,
yeah.
if you don't have your reason why, it's gonna be like, well, no, not this week, because I got to pay my car bill or whatever,
Right.
So, but if you have your reason why and you understand your health, it's the most important thing you have, right?
Right.
Like So I think answering to your point, Phil, that the mental question is very, very crucial.
And then once you get that testing, that's when the supplementation, because you're more targeting the supplementation at that point. Is that the strategy?
I tell patients the shotgun approach versus the rifle approach. Like I said earlier, I'm a hunter, so that I think of things like that. So if I'm, just gonna spray a shotgun and try to hit the wall, you're not very focused at something.
Right.
That's kind of like if you just buy a bunch of vitamins and you don't really know what you're taking.
Right.
It's like, all right, shotgun, maybe something will stick.
Yeah.
Versus the rifle approach of you have the data, oh, well, my thyroid's off, so, and this is why. Okay, so this is what I'm gonna do to support that. That's the rifle approach. First of all, you'll get quicker results, which means you're not going to have to spend as much money on vitamins because you're not going to have to take them as long.
Right.
You're not going to take 50 different things. You might take one or two things, right? So it just makes more sense when you do the due diligence of the testing and going in that order.
Yeah. And then get that testing done at your office, right?
Yeah, I mean, most doctors would be able to.
Yep.
But yeah.
Yep. And one last question that I had, and Jay, if you had any questions as well, jump right in. But there's a lot of talk about fats.
Yeah.
Over the years, a lot of the information the government was putting out was again ridiculous. That somehow margarine would be better, that's created in a petri dish would be better than whole butter. It's just one example.
One molecule in plastic.
Yeah. I remember when I was a kid, the whole margarine kick. Oh, margarine is so much better for you. It's just, but looking at good fats, you got good fats, you got bad fats, seed oils, which are horrible. Again, just a lab experiment. But then there's good oils, like true organic olive oil, organic coconut oil, or at least I think they're good. And I take those every day. And what are your thoughts on those types of oils?
Yeah. People shouldn't be afraid of fat. People
Right.
shouldn't be afraid of cholesterol, and they shouldn't be afraid of oil.
Yeah.
I do them every day.
Mhm.
I mean, I'm a greasy Italian. I'm Sicilian. I've got oil flowing through my veins, right?
When you were born.
When I was born. Yeah. So I'm not afraid of it. But there is when you dig a little bit, like especially with the oils, you want to be careful with like burning points, for example. Like if you're going to fry something, which again I'm not a huge proponent of frying, but if you're going to, you want to use oil like an avocado oil that has a higher burning point.
Higher than peanut?
What's that?
Higher than peanut?
Well, peanut's garbage oil.
Oh.
Yeah. You don't want to use peanut oil.
Yeah, don't let me go on that tangent. But if we're using the healthy, what I think is healthy, so you've got olive oil, coconut oil, avocado oil, right? And going in that order. Olive oil is great. Salad dressings, things like that. Very light baking, 350 or under. Then you got your coconut oil, which we'll use like to quickly fry an egg or something like that. And then avocado oil is going to be your highest burning point. So things that are going to take a higher temperature to cook.
Right.
So those are the main ones that we use. I mean, canola oil is not even worth buying. Not even worth.
I mean, sunflower oil. It sounds so good. Doesn't it? Oh,
It does.
sunflower.
Sunflower's beautiful.
Oh, hey. Yeah.
So you're not a proponent
Yeah.
of vegetable, corn oil, all that
No.
stuff then?
Not unless you start your car.
Yeah, we use and consume only olive oil and coconut oil, and I have it every day. I don't know. I don't know if it works for me.
Yeah.
I feel better.
Yeah.
May not work for everybody, but
Yeah.
but I think it's important to not be afraid of people think oils. Oh my God, fat oils, cholesterol. And again, everybody's different. Everybody's cholesterol levels are different, but there's a lot of research and a lot of experts out there that are saying the whole cholesterol thing's well overdone.
Well, we need.
But it's great for the pharmaceutical industries because boy, they get you on those statin drugs. Oh well, it should be this, and you're at this, so we're gonna give you a statin drug. And
And in the meantime, you're starving your brain.
Right.
What were you gonna say about
Well,
cholesterol?
to that point, Jay, you're starving your brain, but
Right.
also people don't realize cholesterol is the backbone of hormones.
Yes.
So you deplete your cholesterol levels, right? So you got all these men on statin drugs, and then they complain about they can't get an erection, they have no sex drive, and it's like, oh well, could it be that your testosterone was just tanked because you've got no cholesterol to produce the hormone you need for that, right? And lo and behold, some of them, when they do make a decision to maybe wean off something like that, and things change.
Yeah, right,
Things
right.
improve for them. So again, it's not the cure-all for everybody, and it's not going to necessarily work for everybody. But these are things you have to try to understand, and you got to learn to question. You can't just take what the government tells you or your doctor tells you as the gospel truth. You need to research a little bit. That is the benefit of the internet. We have so much information at our disposal right now, right?
But again, it goes back to trial and error. So if you're on a statin drug and you feel you need it because your cholesterol's at an elevated level, first take steps to try to reduce your cholesterol
Right.
through lifestyle.
Right.
And get your cholesterol down. You no longer need that statin drug, which means it's not an inhibitor to your testosterone. It's not possibly affecting other parts of your body, the drug itself. And you just through lifestyle, trial and error, without taking any pharmaceuticals, maybe just cured yourself from that situation.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, it's worth a shot.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I agree wholeheartedly. So if somebody was interested in seeing you on a professional basis, how do they do that?
Yeah, so you can reach out to our office. So my practice is Bova Health and Wellness. We're in Scotia, New York, right next to Scotia High School. So you can reach out. You can find us online, just bovahealthandwellness.com. Our phone number's on there. And you can also email us directly at bovahealthandwellness@outlook.com. And we can start your journey.
Very good.
Nice.
Very good. Well, I want to thank you, Dr. Bova, for being here today. I could talk about this for another few hours, and it's very interesting. I know I learned a lot today. Hopefully, those of you watching and listening have learned as well. There's a whole different way to look at lifestyle and choices we make every day. But if there are some things you're concerned about, make some changes. Try some trial and error, see what works for you and what doesn't. But it's always good to have a medical professional like Dr. Bova, who I would fully recommend, be part of that journey for you and help you with the trial and error. He'll look at you as a complete person in your whole process and all of your blood readings and every other metric dealing with your health and your individual body, because we're all different. And he'll be able to make some suggestions. Ultimately, it's your choice, but make some suggestions that might lead to improving how you feel without having to jump directly to a drug. And unfortunately, a lot of people that see a medical professional, that's the first thing they're told. So again, thank you, Dr. Bova, very much. Merry Christmas, Doctor. Merry Christmas, Jay. We just started this journey a couple of months ago. It's been a lot of fun, and we will have to get Dr. Bova back at some point,
absolutely.
because
There's plenty to talk about.
we could spend another 3 hours here without even thinking about it. The time goes so quickly when
It's
we're
an hour and a half already.
I know. I always say at the beginning of each show, let's try to keep it to 45 minutes to an hour.
Why do you think I chuckle every time?
And then I'll look over here at the running time, and it'll say an hour 15, and I'm like, oh my God, we haven't even got to half the things I wanted to talk about. But we're going to cut it off here at an hour and a half. Dr. Bova's time is very valuable, and we appreciate you being here.
Thank you, sir.
God bless you.
Appreciate it.
Thank you.
Well.
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas, everybody.
God bless you. I wish you a Merry Christmas, Happy Holidays. Hopefully you have some downtime with your friends and family. Wishing you nothing but the best. Thank you for listening and watching. Thank you to Jay and his team with this beautiful studio here at an undisclosed location in Saratoga County. It's been an honor. Thank you.
This weekend.
Oh, yes. I'm trying to. She's trying to. The girl, the senior, she's trying to take it. Yeah.
This is me singing. That was
I
an
do.
anti-Joe Biden song. You know what, Miley Cyrus?
Yeah.
Flowers? Well, it's that and me singing, I don't want no Biden. It's a pretty funny
It's
song.
amazing.
But,
That's
you know,
And I told him a couple weeks ago, I said,
we got to
"God,
change that now.
I love your voice.
Yeah.
But would it be
You ever hear
okay?
him sing?
What's that?
He sings Frank
Oh, yeah?
Sinatra. Great.
Ah, there you go.
Well, I sing with a big band, and
Oh, cool.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. So I just did a concert recently. So I want to just take what would it be, like a minute?
Yeah, always
Yeah.
a minute clip.
Yeah, just take a minute clip out of that.
Yeah.
I said, I'm not trying to step on your toes, but be nice to.
Yeah.
Stress the system. I see where you're at. Whatever, Phil.
Adaptation.
That's it.
Adaptation.
That's it.
Call it what you want.
Well, thank you, Joe. Appreciate it.
guys. That was fun.
Thank you, Jay.
Yes, sir. That was a good time. I'll tell you, I'm really excited to see what RFK is going to do with this, because I was a big one. I mean, I lived in Canada, so a lot of the foods are different. You take a Fruit Loops that you mentioned, and you look at the ingredients. There's half the ingredients in Canadian Fruit Loops as there are in American Fruit Loops.
Oh yeah, you look at the other countries.
Yeah, you look at in Europe. A lot of the foods we eat here aren't even allowed in Europe.
I know. Isn't that crazy?
I was a huge. You probably never had it because you probably poison your system. But KFC came out with a sandwich called the Double Down. Remember that? So what it was two of the original breaded chicken patties with bacon and cheese and mayonnaise.
Yeah,
that was their sandwich.
Yeah.
It was amazing. If you're a fat guy,
Sounds amazing.
Well, that
Yeah,
sandwich
the dyes and the
that was
stuff that-
illegal in Canada.
Yeah.
They
Really?
wouldn't allow it because it was too that sandwich alone was 2,900 calories, not including your fries or anything else. So, they're more regulated up there.
Yeah, but the Fruit Loops that you can sell in America, you can't sell it in like Europe.
Right.
Yeah, we
Canada
were
or somewhere
talking
else.
about that. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah, it's pathetic.
They use carrot and beet for coloring.
Right.
And blueberries. We use dyes and chemicals.
Yeah.
So, I think to me the high fructose corn syrup is the biggest problem we have in our foods.
Oh yeah, that's a big one.
For kids.
Yeah, it's another lab.
Every one of their foods.
Yeah.
Another
It's in
lab.
everything.
Every snack.
That's one of the things that he said that he wanted to get rid
Joe,
of.
that's your going.